More traditional approach that a lot of bodybuilders and strength athletes will use is on a hard training day, they might say, okay, I'm going to get 40 to 50% of my calories from carbohydrate. Slide. On a more moderate day, they take it down a notch. Slide. And a low training or off day, they're still getting 30% carbs. So the question may be asked, well, it's Sunday. I don't do anything on Sunday, man. I worked out Monday through Saturday. Sunday's my rest day. You've told me to take a rest day, coach. Why do I need 30% carbohydrates on that day? Anybody know the answer? Yes, sir.
Working out the next day.
You're working out the next day. That's one of the answers. There's another one.
Why do you need more? You're still building muscle too.
Still building muscle. So muscle protein synthesis. Remember that is stimulated and maximized by the availability of carbohydrate. So we don't necessarily want to drop to zero on our low or off day. Okay, if you're getting 30% of your carbohydrates from 30% of your calories from carbohydrates, that's still a pretty low number based on considering that every gram of carbohydrate is how many
4
calories? 4. Yep. I'm gonna need some answers from the back here in a minute. But anyway, 4 calories per gram. It ends up being not a very big amount of your food coming from the carbohydrates. So next slide, please. So this one is a big one. We talked about the anabolic windows starting before the workout and continuing on through an hour after. And this is where we would get into like how much of our white rice, if we wanted to have that as part of our post-workout meal. So for a hard training session, I like to see about 0.5 gram per pound, moderate training 0.4, so on and so forth. And then here's the breakdown for a 200-pound operator. So the guys 200 pounds in after a hard training session would maybe uptake to 100 grams of carbohydrate.
Coach, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So, like in that refeed state, like let's say like your off day is on Sunday and you still maintain like 40 to 50% carbs, and let's say like it's an advanced lifter, are you going to gain like more fat because you? No, are you going to?
So think of it more macro in terms of like what's my ultimate energy expenditure over the course of a week or a month, and how my carbohydrates fit into that. With my expenditure versus my intake. Okay. So if you're training really hard 6 days a week, having 1 day of carbs, even if you go a little higher because you're in a bulking phase, clean bulk of course. If you go a little bit higher, that's not gonna hinder you because your body's still in repair mode, and as he mentioned, you're basically filling the glycogen stores for tomorrow and Tuesday's training. So. Actually, there's a really famous bodybuilding coach, Hani Rambod, trains Phil Heath, and he always says that, or I heard him in a podcast, and he said a couple times that he says that after a cheat day is when he gives his guys the biggest workouts because they're just so filled and they're ready to drive those nutrients already in the system, ready to drive them into the muscles.
Makes sense.
So, yes, sir.
I put about 80. Well, not about. I put 80 grams of carbs in pretty much every meal I eat during the day.
Okay.
Should I drop that? Everything except for my post-training meal.
Again, what we would look at is your total calories. Make sure we're hitting our protein, and then let's see how that breaks down. If you're getting too many total calories based on what you need, then one of the things, if you're getting that many carbs, one of the things we would do is pull that back. But if you're still in line,
I mean 7 ounces of lean protein, 80 grams of carbs, everything.
And the carb source is now going to be very important. Is it
white rice?
Always white rice?
Except for oatmeal in the morning.
Okay, I would change up the source of it. Get a lot more vegetables in there.
I eat a shit ton of vegetables too. I don't weigh the vegetables.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, we can maybe talk offline about that, but maybe just change up the source. Maybe instead of always white rice, go into some sweet potato, some quinoa, because you're going to be getting a lot of different nutrient compositions there, and just it'll probably help out your overall metabolism and digestion.
Okay.
So, which is of course important for absorption. Slide, please.
Coach.
Yes, sir.
So on those like different days, is protein and fat staying the same on each day?
So the fat will be manipulated based on the carbohydrate. So the question was, is the protein and fat manipulated based on how many carbs you're taking in? So what you want to do is, whether you're bulking or cutting, doesn't matter, you've got your total calories. Okay, so then you say 1 gram per pound of protein, which is 4 calories per gram. So you basically subtract that out from your total.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're left with you can split up between carbs and fat. So on a higher carb day, let's say it's a back. Don't worry about going back, but let's say it's a 50% day, right? And you're taking it from this chunk that's left after the protein. Maybe that leaves this much for fat. Then on the day where it's a lower day, you're only getting this much of carbs, so obviously you get a little bit more fat to meet your total calories.
So calorically, you want to stay the same.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. To still keep making that goal. So on the low carb day where you're getting in a little bit more fat, we know the fat does what? Somebody back there. What's the support for anabolic purposes? Just said it. There's gonna be a quiz next week. Testosterone. Oh yeah, okay, testosterone. Good. Jesus Christ. Camera's not even facing you guys. Come on, man. All right, so